guys, welcome back to another episode of Chats in the Blog Cabin. I am joined by William. William, you are the first person that I know that actually knows where Goldsboro's from. We actually had a conversation before we came on about Wilbur's barbecue, and he's so excited that it's back. But why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
I am a jack of all, master of none to start with. Let's see. I've been an artist, an author, a publisher, an aircraft mechanic, let's see, master mason, a preacher. There's so many things that I've done. Design engineer, doing industrial designs and equipment design. But the most recent thing has been jumping onto the writer's journey. And I do have to say that without the people at LibertyCon 4 years ago now, I wouldn't be where I'm at, because the connections and the information that they willingly give away there is so amazing for an author just trying to get their start and get their feet under them. I started Three Ravens Publishing in 19, published my first title at the end of 19, and published 32 titles last year.
Wow.
Not all of mine. I'm publishing for other people, because, you know, a good story is a good story. It still needs to be told. I've got 4 novels under my belt myself. Well, 3.5, because this one I co-wrote with a buddy of mine, which I don't know if you're into Spaceballs, but that should kind of look familiar, because that one right there is the pitch line that I've been throwing out there is, if Spaceballs and the Dukes of Hazzard had a love child, while wrapped in everything that is the 80s, you'd have Smuggler's Run. And it is just horribly bad, cheesy B-rate. You know, both of us love Spaceballs and Ice Pirates and all these classic sci-fis from the 80s. So we throw it all together like that.
So is sci-fi mainly what you write then, or do you write other things?
It depends on what the evil mind squirrels demand. It could be fantasy, it could be urban fiction, it could be romance. I mean, I've got a couple of romance stories jotted down. Haven't published them yet because they ain't finished, but whatever the muse was at that moment that has said, write this down, I wrote it down. I've even got a Western and a Victorian romance idea in the slush pile that I'll eventually get back to, hopefully. But it just depends. Sci-fi and fantasy are definitely the top end, or I'm the most comfortable. The next would probably be post-apocalyptic.
Like a Walking Dead type things?
Yeah, but I tend to lean more towards like the video game Fallout. So you've got, you know, nuclear holocaust, what's left of mankind, or something along those lines. I've started a post-apocalyptic zombie series, and I'm going to probably take that to Kindle Vella, since that's a new thing coming out, and it'd be perfect for it. Little snippets, starting it out here, actually over in Chickamauga, and just see where the character ends up.
Wow. So your varied career, because you said at the beginning that you were an Air Force mechanic, mason, officiant, a preacher, a writer, an author, a design engineer, all these other things. Has that kind of created a world for you that you're able to draw from to get your characters for your stories?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, the basis for anything creative is knowledge. So anything that I learn, you know, going through the steps to become a master mason, the ceremonies involved in that, well, they inspired some of the stories that I've got planned here. I had a thief. I don't even remember the name of it right off the top of my head. But, you know, it's just one of those ideas that popped up, and I ended up putting it into the slush pile because it was a good idea, but I'm not ready to write that yet. You know, my brain's still got to mull over the finer details and figure out what else is happening. But yeah, absolutely. Experience in general The publisher who originally published this one didn't like how much aircraft stuff that I put in there. I mean, it equivalates to aircraft porn because I've got little details about the planes that only aircraft nerds are going to love. But that's just me. I like aircraft. I love turning the wrenches on them. As I was starting to write my outline for this one, I went down to the Warner Robins Air Museum. They let me turn wrenches on the B-17, and I installed some brake lines and some other stuff on there. And they let me climb all over an A-26 and inside of a B-25, and I got to see the aircraft and smell them. The sensation of just being there around them, smelling the oil and the aircraft fuel, it's something that clicks in your head, and anybody that wants to be a writer, getting as much firsthand knowledge, I think, is important because you put reality into it. You put that element of realism. Now, when you're getting into science fiction stuff like that, you can fluff on it and kind of do what you want, especially when you get into fantasy with magic. But going to places, if you have a scene set in a particular place, if you can go there, do it. Go there, sit for a minute, look at the area. Just watch the people going by. If you can't, Google Maps is a wonderful thing. You get down on Street View and you can look around and see what's going on. I had the Messenger of Death, kind of it's similar to Pierce Anthony's Incarnations of Immortality series. And I started it out in Dublin. I can't get to Dublin. It costs too much. I would love to. I would absolutely love to go to Dublin, but I just can't do it. So I'm sitting there going around on the streets, right there on Street View, like I was there. So, I at least got some kind of sensation of what it looked like, and I can get some feel to it.
So, like when you was talking about writing about Dublin, did you kind of immerse yourself in the culture too, a little bit, like eating Irish food, drinking Irish whiskey, things like that, and immersing yourself in the culture when you write about stuff like that, or no?
I already do that anyway. I got just a wee bit of Irish in me.
So how much other research do? You already talked about, you go in places if you're writing about a place. So let's talk about like sensations and the food and the costumes, like how your characters are dressed or how they act.
It depends on what I'm writing. Sometimes it could be something as simple as just needing to see what a character looks like in my head. And a lot of times I'll use somebody that I know. So I have their mannerisms, their physical general appearance, things like that. And I've already got that in my head. So it's easy to write them. I know how they're going to react. Let's see here. I brought books. See, my first novel, Flux Runners, when I get the glare off of it, I know everyone in this book except for two, which are conglomerations of people. My wife is actually part of the crew on board the ship, but it just makes it easier to put that character down and how they're going to react and how they're interacting with the others. But when I'm doing something random, I might do a search online for a particular look, or if I'm doing post-apocalyptic, okay, I need somebody that's going to be a raider or a scavenger. I'll just do a Google search. Okay, cool, like that picture. I'm saving that picture. Now I've got the look, and I can kind of picture the attitude that goes with the look in that picture. And research can be as simple as that, or for my story for the Starflight anthology that I just did, I wanted to have something like a slug-like creature, so I started researching gastropods. And I was looking all over the internet for all these different types. And you got those big, huge banana slugs. They're just gorgeous yellow and orange. And I don't remember the name of the one. There's one particular one that lives along the rims of volcanoes, and it actually secretes a metal shell so it can survive the higher temperatures and the sulfur. It's like, that thing is just epic. So I kind of took the size of the banana slug with this here metal monster of a slug and combined them together. And I made a creature for my Starflight story. And it worked out perfect.
So where do you get the inspiration for your stories, though?
Oh, God. That can be anything from I just see a word to hearing a song lyric or wow. That just really depends on what's going on. I've had ideas spurred like shortly after me and the wife started dating. We were at Applebee's, and there was a lady sitting over at the bar talking to her friends. I couldn't hear a word they were saying, but her body language and the way that she was talking, she was definitely the dominant one out of the group. So she was kind of, the leader of the pack, or whatever. And just from that body language, I had this idea spur up, and the wife ran out to the car to get me pen and paper because I'm like, I need something. I need something now. I don't have a notepad. So I'm scrambling to jot these notes down, and she had some really thick, like curled up eyeliner makeup going on. And that helped add to it because it's just like, okay, cool. Well, she's got all that, but she's got these tattoos coming down like snakes. And she ended up being the starting bad guy in one of my Terra Nye stories, which now that I never password protect, read and write your files because people aren't going to steal your files, guys. It's okay. Don't password protect them because when you lose your password and the thumbprint scanner, it sucks because it's 20 years later and you finally recover your files. So I'm going to get to that series now that I can actually get to my files. But yeah, it's weird. It could be anything that spurs an idea, and I'm scrambling to find something to write on. But luckily now I've got this, so I can just send myself an email to look at later, and I don't forget about it. Wake up in the middle of the night from a dream. I keep a notebook right by the bed. So if there's something that just strikes me and I don't want to lose it, I'll get up and I'll jot it down, or I'll or grab my phone and plug it in real quick if I can see straight. And that way I can retain all those ideas. Any good writer has a pile of ideas and information and stuff just tucked away because you never know when something's going to come in handy. Mm-hmm. And anytime you kind of got an idea, you might have something in there, you just start scrolling through and looking through things like, oh, I can use that, and I can use that, and I can use that. And actually, that's exactly what happened with my Dogs of War novel that I'm about 35,000 words into it right now. Life got busy and I got sidetracked. So I got to get back to it and finish it for the Fallen World universe. But I had like 3 or 4 different ideas that were sitting in the slush pile. And then it just kind of started becoming this cohesive idea where all these things work together. And it's like, great. Okay, I got this character and that character. Like, I got a bad guy now. Awesome. Come here, Jolene. You're over here. And it's just like it all meshed together. So you never know when something's going to pop up. Never delete anything. Save it all.
So how do you keep it all straight with all your stuff that you've gotten? How do you be able to sort through it quickly?
Well, with the slush pile, it's just piled up and just descriptive file names and stuff. So I got an idea of what that is. When it comes down to the stories, spreadsheets are your friend. And I'm extremely frugal. As frugal as I can be. I hate spending money on crap that I really don't need. There's Scrivener and all these other bits of software out there that people use and they swear by them. And I checked it out. And it's like, okay, this is nice, but I'd probably spend way more time than I need to setting all this up and making my characters pretty with all their information. I don't need that. Give me an Excel spreadsheet, Google Docs. You've got a Google Word document, a Google spreadsheet like Excel, and you just plug all your information in there and move on. So, free is good.
I love that. So take us through, okay, you get the idea for the book. you're on fire, you're going to start writing it. How long does it take you? Do you have a set schedule where you write, okay, I've got to write a minimum of so many words a day? Or do you just say, I'm just going to write till I stop and then until it doesn't hit me anymore. And then I'm going to stop on that and maybe go back and write something else. Like you just mentioned that you're writing one book, but you got to go ahead and stop and finish writing something else first.
Yeah. It depends on whatever's going on the given day. So yeah, I'd started on Dogs of War back in November, and I got up to 35,000 words by December. But then we started watching grandbabies at night because Steve was working third shift, needed somebody to watch him. So they've been crashing here. I'm getting a little less writing time and all that. On average, I try to get up at 4:00 in the morning every morning. That's my writing time. The last 2 months, though, I've been doing more publishing during my writing time instead of writing because I've got the Starflight anthology that I managed to land in a deal with the IP holder for a game franchise, and they're letting us create fresh content in it. It's like, okay, cool. So that's kind of a priority because I think it might be a really good game changer and give my own writing a boost, which is another novel that I got to knock out this year sometime. My list is crazy. I don't even want to go through it. Oh my God. Process wise, it depends on the story. The more that you do it, the faster you're going to get. On average, 2 months to write 75, 80,000 words. Smuggler's Run, that one took me and Chris 3 weeks to write, but it was just flowing, and we were having a blast doing it because he'd write a chapter and leave me in a predicament that I had to figure out how to get us out of. So we were trying to screw each other over every chapter. It's like, all right, figure it out now. It's all you, buddy. And it was just a blast to write. And we had so much fun doing it. We were laughing all the way through. So it really depends on what it is. Writing my Starflight short story. I love that game. I spent way too many hours playing that game back in the 80s. But I struggled to get the story done. It wasn't wanting to flow. But I had all this other stuff going on that, distractions happen. We had this road project going on. They're doing a bridge project. So we had to move our fence and move all of our garden out to the back. And that was like 2.5 months worth of just yard work trying to get everything done. And I managed to get them to extend the drop dead date because I needed to move trees. And that was an interesting adventure. We moved 9-year-old plum trees that had just fruited last year. And oh my God, they were so good. And I wasn't going to lose them. So we dug them up, put my engine hoist in the back of the pickup, lifted them straight out of the ground, then drove them around back and put them in a hole.
I don't blame you. Those trees are hard to come by. I mean, trees that are going to have fruit blossom, no. You don't want to give those up. Definitely not. And
with the amount of fruit that they were putting out, I could easily make wine with that if they produce again this year.
Wow. So what made you decide to start taking from being a writer to a publisher, being an indie publisher?
That was more for me. I wanted to have a place to publish my own stuff to start with. But at the same time, I wanted to give others a place that they have a chance to publish, because not everybody can figure out the ins and outs of Amazon and things like that, which I'm moving a lot of stuff over to Ingram and Sparks because we get expanded distribution worldwide with that. So, I'm helping myself out, but at the same time, I'm helping others. And like I said, there's so many good stories out there that don't get published just because they don't get picked up by a publisher. Well, I'm not Bain. I'm not Tor. I'm not even looking to get rich off of this. If I can get to where I'm making a decent living off of my writing, epic. If I'm making a little bit extra on the side with Three Ravens, cool. And see, I'm just the top of the Three Ravens. Benjamin Tyler Smith and R.J. Layden are the other two Ravens. Okay. They're my partners in crime. I do the majority of the work right now because they've got life going on. But it is what it is, you know, and we're making this thing happen. I've honestly found that I'm really enjoying the publishing side of things. Not only am I learning from it, just on the edits, the more that I edit, the more that I'm finding stuff in my own work. So that's helping to improve my craft. I started, well, back in September of 19, we had a little convention here locally that was called Next Chapter Con. And at that convention was a bunch of members of my old writing group. See, I was part of the Chattanooga Writers Guild for years. And I ended up spinning my wheels a lot with them because they were just basic critique groups. They get together once a month. They kind of talk about stuff and then go about their ways after everybody, beat each other up. But nobody ever did anything with it. And it's like we were having the same things over and over and over. And a lot of the issues did stem from, there is a difference between literary fiction and pulp fiction. Anybody writing horror, sci-fi, fantasy, urban fantasy, that's all pulp. The rules do not apply the same as literary fiction. So if you're in a literary fiction writing group and they're marking you on stuff that you go back and pull out your Robert Jordan or Heinlein or H.P. Lovecraft and you wrote like they did, that's okay. Don't worry about it because they're marking you up on the literary side. It's different. But I'd had my own writing group back then. Life, cancer, things like that happened. Shut up, alarm. And at that convention, some of the members that were in the old group saw me there and was like, hey, when we starting the group back up? We're not. Because I didn't want to go back into that same cycle of just nothing. And I started thinking about it. It's like, we could do this and we could be a support group where we're not critiquing each other's stuff unless somebody specifically asks for something. And at the same time, we started producing works. So we're helping each other out. We're doing production, little flash fiction collection. And when we go in there, we all get into editing. So we can all see what each other is marking because everybody's going to catch things differently. I suck at grammar and spelling and punctuation. The wife, she's great at it. But you give me some technical stuff or flow issues, I'll catch that all day long. So, we use that and we build on that with each other. And anytime that somebody's needing help with research or they don't know how to find this information, they'll pop a question in and then we'll go on the hunt. And one of the bonuses to LibertyCon, we know physicists, brain surgeons, nuclear physicists, you name it, we can find it. And we can get source material for whatever you're needing. It's an amazing community with LibertyCon, and that I can never say enough about that place because it changed everything for me with writing. But yeah, I've really started to enjoy doing the publishing side of things because I'm learning and growing and I'm helping other people out at the same time.
With your publishing company, what particular type of books or novels do you look for?
Fun. I mean, really, there's a lot of good stuff out there that the big boys publish, but I want to claw my eyes out sometimes because it's dull and it's boring. But it's great works. I mean, it's written well. It just don't strike me. I want the stuff that's fun and enjoyable and it's action-packed. I mean, think Indiana Jones. Think something fast-paced. And that's the kind of stuff that I like to write, and that's the kind of stuff that I look for. If it strikes me as something like that, like an Indiana Jones or an Alan Quartermain, or you get into Starship Troopers or something like that, I want that. If you're trying to change people's way of thinking and be some profound litericist, no. Okay, send that off to Bain or somebody. I'll be bored and I won't want it. Thought-provoking would be good. Information is good. But if that's the goal and the stories are, what's the word? They're mission oriented to get a point across. It's like, okay, maybe depends on the story.
So you mentioned LibertyCon a couple of times. Tell us what that is for people who don't know what that is.
LibertyCon is a writers' literary convention. It is probably one of the best business conventions for indie authors to go to if they can get in. The last couple of years, good luck at getting the golden ticket. They sold out in 9 minutes the last time.
Oh wow!
That was insane. I mean, I'm glad that I'm staff with LibertyCon now, and that's running gag. You go to your first LibertyCon, you'll be staff next year. Don't worry. But staff get first dibs because they've worked hard on it, and actually this year they made me the literary and the publishing track director for virtual LibertyCon. And here, after we get done with this, I've got to record for Chris Kennedy for his What's New with Chris Kennedy panel. And, you know, I don't mind doing it. It's all volunteer work, but it's giving back to the community that's helped me get where I am. Because the turning point for me when it came down to it, because I was struggling. I was trying to figure out how to go about the business of writing. At one point, I was working 60, 70-hour work weeks. We had babies. Life was busy. And I didn't get time to write. I mean, I get headaches when I can't get something out of my head because it'll sit there and it'll just stew and stew and stew. And I was about this close to burning everything that I had wrote down, all my notes. I'm glad the wife saved them and she hid them away till I was ready for them. But I don't know why. No matter how many times she would tell me that my writing is good or anybody else would tell me my writing was good, it didn't click right. But I went to that first LibertyCon in 2017, and Charity Ayers was doing a little writing workshop. And in that writing workshop, we had to write for 15 minutes, and then we got to read it out loud and everything. And I've thought about that for the last couple of years. What was it? Because that really is what spurred it all. I mean, I got my first offer for an anthology, to jump in an anthology at that con. And I joined in on, what was it, Shada Toys. And the little snippet that I wrote in that 15-minute segment of Charities actually got included in my story for Shada. But when it come down to it, she gave me permission. Someone I did not know from Adam, never met her until that day. She gave me permission to write.
Oh, wow.
And that's the best that I can figure of what it was, because since then, it has been gangbusters. I mean, it's a passion. And I know I can get obsessed. I did that on my previous pen name attempt, and I got sidetracked doing a podcast, thinking that was the way to promote myself. I've had my pirate radio station. I've checked so many things off of that list. But I got sidetracked on doing the podcast and not writing so much. Almost caused a divorce. So you have to learn to rein yourself. You have to learn to rein yourself in, especially on a passion that you can get obsessed and just immersed into. But the things that I learned doing that podcast, contacting people, talking to people, arranging stuff, you know, me and Taylor Anderson, we're still pretty good buds to this day. And he had just turned in book 3 of the Destroyer Men series when I had him on to do an interview on the show. And, you know, the man's known worldwide now. He's New York Times bestselling author. And it's just like, cool. I know Taylor Anderson. I got him on my phone. I just call him up. It's like, you know, it's so weird, but it's so cool at the same time. brain work. Yeah, I went on a side tangent. Sorry.
That's okay. You mentioned that when you were writing, life got in the way, and you mentioned the word cancer. That word always sticks out for me because I've had my dad ultimately died from cancer, and so did my sister. So let's talk about that because you mentioned that when you were talking.
I'm trying to think of when that was exactly. Let's see. He was about so 8 years ago. Was that 2013? Yeah. So in 2013, because the littlest one he wasn't even quite a year old, and the wife she had got out of the shower and was toweling off, and was like, "Is there something on my neck?" And her neck was swollen out. Mm-hmm. Like that wasn't there yesterday. And it ended up being cancerous thyroid. So she had her thyroid removed. Went through the treatments and all that. And all the writing, everything else, it took a complete backseat at that point. That's when I stopped the podcast, and things shifted around. But it has to. Mm-hmm. Family comes first. What was it? It was about a year or so after her surgery that things started to get balanced back out because taking the levothyroxine, mm-hmm. They got to get that balance just right. And what was it? In the process of all that, we had her father passed away downstairs. Just lots of life started happening. In that time period, we had like 14 people living here at one time.
Oh, wow.
We ended up buying a big house to start with because we were going to be a stepping stone for others. And we were hot bunking at one point. Third shift would come in while everybody on regular day shift were waking up and going to work, and they'd go jump into bed someplace. But family takes care of family.
Yep. So that also, you probably took all that experience and channeled it into your writing as well once you were able to get back into writing, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely. That ends up Flux runners and Wildcat for sure. That's prevalent all through those. I mean, you take care of family, you take care of those within your circle. You watch out for the babies, you watch out for the kids. It's just things that strike close to heart, and I know it screwed with the publisher. I got another book. Yeah. Wildcat. I managed to put a lot of my hillbilly stuff in because I grew up in Southern West Virginia, and I actually went to that church. That church is unfortunately about to fall in, but the hillbillyisms got wrote into it. Lots of ways of life. A lot of people didn't realize things were like that back home, and they still are to this day. I mean, there's places you don't go into some hollers because you may not come out.
Wow. So let's talk about how you're able to take things that you've learned and create so many very different genres that you write about. I mean, because honestly, you talking about space and now you're talking about hillbillyisms. Have you ever been able to combine space and hillbillyisms together?
Oh yeah. A little bit in Flux Runners, a little bit in Smugglers Run. What was it? Smugglers Run. My main character, his name is Van Hagar, because he was raised by aliens, and when he was going and learning about humans, he found out about Earth, and he started going through all the information, all the decades and stuff about Earth, and then he came across the 80s, and he decided to rename himself Van Hagar. It was the lead singer from his favorite band, and he's sporting the mullet with the denim outfit and ostrich skin boots and stuff like that. So, well, maybe not so much hillbillyisms as redneck, but yeah, little things like that get slided in there. Good old boys using what they've got. Flux runners. These guys, if you ever watched Firefly, Flux runners is similar. A little bit grittier, a little bit more down to earth, like military members. They hold no punches. They get right down to it. But they're always trying to survive by the seat of their pants. So they're making do with whatever they got. And if they got to patchwork it, they patchwork it. And it just is what it is, and they move on.
Do you ever see any of your books becoming a movie or a miniseries or anything like that?
I would absolutely love that. And yeah, Smuggler's Run, Flux Runners, I would love to see those done up as a movie. My Draven series, it's similar to Conan, set in the same kind of series, set in the same kind of setting, antediluvian, things are still unknown, dark magic is everywhere kind of thing. I would love to see that set up on film someplace. God, I got so many ideas that would turn into TV series. Or my sci-fi, I tend to write cinematic instead of real physics. So more like Star Wars or Star Trek, because it translates well to screen, in that hope that somebody's going to see it and go, oh, cool. Now, with Smuggler's Run, the creator of that universe, it's part of the Salvage universe, which was created by Kevin Steverson. He's actually signed a movie contract for the first 3 novels in the series. And if all goes well, the rest of us might get a chance on getting something made up for a movie too. So we've got the stupid comedy with Smuggler's Run. So
stupid comedy, I love that. Now, I interviewed one author who was like, when he was writing, he had a particular character. He had a particular actress in mind when he was writing his main character. Do you have a particular actor or actress in mind when you're writing who would be perfect to play this person, or do you just kind of not do that and you just have your character in mind, period?
It depends on the story that I'm writing, but generally, yes. Well, okay, Smuggler's Run. What's his name? Played Stifler in America Pie.
I know who you're talking about.
Sean William Scott. Whatever reason, I started writing that character, and he's the first one that popped in my head. Got him with the mullet. There we go. There's Van Hagar. Most of my characters, if I don't already have somebody chosen, then they get an actor or something like that, just so I've got those mannerisms. Was it the captain from my story, Aiden? Simon Pegg is the captain, and his name is Aiden, but the computer keeps calling him Adam because it got screwed up in the crash. That one's an interesting tale. But it just all depends on the story. If I've got somebody I actually know versus using somebody from TV or movies.
Wow. So what's next up for you besides doing LibertyCon and everything else?
Oh God. Well, I've got all the recordings and everything that we're doing for LibertyCon for sure. Got to finish those up in the next week or so. I've actually got Chris Kendi tonight. I've got Steve Jackson, Eric Flint, Bill Fawcett tomorrow night. I'm recording them. The next big thing is going to be Starflight for me, getting the anthology out. Was it Zoomers by John Drake? We just got that edited, sent out to early readers. So that'll be due out June 1st, which, can I share screen?
You sure can.
Ooh. Let's see. Window. So there's Zoomers. And that is, I think, Hitchhiker's Guide crossed with Doctor Who and you've got a really good, funny British comedy style satire. The Starflight anthology, that's coming up July 1st. And after that, I've got to sit down and actually write the novel for that one. And I've got a whole, there's 4 or 5 other authors that are starting on their novels for the series too. And that one, it's crazy. I mean, I asked a question. I honestly just had a random thought one day, because I'd found where Starflight, I shared another one there. I found out where Starflight was up on GOG, and it was like $2 for the first and the second game. It's like, oh, awesome, great, because the old copies don't work on modern machines. The modern machines are too fast. So I got it. I started playing it. It's like, why hasn't anybody wrote in this universe? And I looked for some fan fiction. There was nothing out there. So I tracked down the creators of the game and asked them, hey, why hasn't anybody wrote in it? And they told me I could. It's like, really? I could? Okay, sure. Let's do this. And so I wrote up a contract. I sent it to Rod. He signed it. They, got to keep everything run smooth. So, he's the IP holder. He gets his cut. But we get the right to create fresh content in the universe and just run with it. And if we do this right, then there's a good chance that Greg will get to make the next video game. He had already started on setting up Starflight 3. They did a FIG campaign. It's similar to Kickstarter, but not a lot of people heard about it. But they actually had 460,000 to 500,000 pledged for the new game. So even though it was a failed campaign, there's life in the community to get that much money pledged for a brand new video game. So I jumped all over it, and I've been pushing hard for this because I love the universe. Why not write in it? The man gave me permission. It's like, it's game on.
Yeah.
Other than that, I need to knock out Dogs of War, which is kind of parallel to Wildcat. Same universe, same kind of time frame. You run into some of the people from Dogs of War in Wildcat. You get a little taste of them. I've got Shepherd's Call, which is the first book in the Black Wish universe, and then the next level, Noobs of Ravenmore, which is a lit RPG series that I'm going to be kicking off this year. Lots of busy stuff. Oh, and Steamjacks, a steampunk series that we're going to kick off.
Wow.
And these are shared universes too. So more than one person can get in here as long as we've got cross ties and we're abiding by the rules of the universe, Other than that, I've got the JTF universe that we signed over from Canon Publishing, which that's the first novel of the JTF universe is my novel Widowmakers. It wasn't going where the publisher wanted it to go, so he signed it over to Three Ravens, and now I've got control of it. I've got 6 novels setting in queue, 4 more being written that I know of at least, and the next one that's supposed to be published is going to be Sea Serpent by John Stacey Worth, but he had bypass surgery Friday. So just waiting on him to heal up. He gets around to doing his edits, and we'll get it out and go from there. But I'm not pushing him on it.
I love the collaboration that you form. It's community over competition, right?
Oh God, yes. And honestly, if anybody's got their head stuck up their rump and thinks they're better than everybody else, walk away from them. They're not worth their time of day. I mean, really, it's not worth the effort to try to talk to these people and become their friends, because you're not going to be. the community that I've learned through LibertyCon, it's family. And LibertyCon becomes a family reunion every year. But we come together and we talk through things. And, I just get on the phone and call this guy, that guy. That every one of us have our different specialties. Some were special forces. I got a couple of SEALs, ex-Navy SEALs that I can call and get information if I need. I got Army Rangers, and it just depends on what the situation is. Hey, what about this? And it works as a greater community that we can all boost each other. Because you know what? Readers are going to read. There's no such thing as stealing readers from somebody else, because that book that took you 2-3 months to write, they're going to read it in about 2 or 3 days, and they're ready for the next one. Yeah. So there's plenty of readers to go around.
So our time is almost up. Is there one last nugget that you want to leave us with?
Yeah. Something that I had to learn the hard way. Back during the original podcasting days, which TDB Pirate Radio is on the air again. And we do it once a month, and it's just for fun. But during that first bit of podcasting, one of my early interviews was with Ben Bova. He is the grandfather of modern day science fiction, right there with Arthur C. Clarke, Ben Bova, Heinlein, and those guys. And he was even nice enough to let me do the interview twice when it didn't record right. But he told me, it's like, if you're going to do it, do it. Set your time. This is when you do it. This is your writing time. No ifs, ands, or buts. And it really didn't click in the chaos of that early bit of writing. But now I get up at 0400 every morning, unless I'm just dead tired or sick, and I write. Or, well, now I'm publishing, but that's going to change here soon. I'm getting some of this publishing stuff out of the way so I can get some writing time in.
It does.
But seriously, set your time, whether it's morning, afternoon, evening. Find your space. If you have to get out of the house to get away from chaos, do it. I go down here to Pie Slingers. I get me a pint, and I write. I got my bar stool. They know me. I walk in, they bring the beer. I'm just doing my thing. You have to make it habit. The standard is if you do it for more than 2 weeks, it becomes habit. Mm-hmm. So do it. Form that habit, because it's a good habit to have. And yeah, life gets in the way sometimes. Things change, and that's all right. And something else, this lifestyle with writing and stuff like that, it's not good on the body, and our paunches kind of get bigger and rounder. Go exercise. Go for walks. Get off your fat butt and do it, because you're going to need to. We get older and things don't work so good.
I love that.
I'm doing that now, man. I'm making it a habit where I'm going to the gym pretty much every day, because I got to get under 200. I feel like crap. I've gained weight sitting here and, snacking all day long, being at the house. Mm-hmm. So it's part of the gig. You got to take care of yourself and keep your health as one of the priorities too.
Okay. And where can people find you at?
You can find my stuff at williamjosephroberts.com. I'm pretty much on just about every social media platform there is. You can find things from Three Ravens Publishing at threeravenspublishing.com, and pretty much just about every social media platform there is. And just do a Google search. You'll find us. Trust me.
Do a Google search. I love that. And are you accepting new publications for submission?
Yes. There are submission guidelines on the Three Ravens page. We had a recent submission. I was so happy. They actually followed all the guidelines. I'm like, oh my God, somebody did it. Yes. And pretty much we're looking for anything, as long as it's good, it's fun. We don't get into smut, but I know somebody that'll publish smut. So if you send it, I'll direct you over to them.
Okay.
But pretty much, as long as there's nothing explicit, I mean, you can get into some romantic, little bit of touchy-feely, heavy petting, but then fade to black. We're not looking for gun porn. We're not looking for a physics lesson. if you're a David Weber wannabe, then send your stuff to Tony over at Bain. That's not fun to me. I mean, David writes amazing stuff. I skip the physics lessons because, it's just like Anne Rice. 2 pages to describe a chair is too much for me.
Yeah.
So, but yeah.
Well, William, I want to thank you so much for coming on and being on Chats from the Blog Cabin. And you've a wealth of knowledge, and I can't wait to see what else you come out with again. And also, I can't wait to see maybe one of your anthologies become a TV show or a movie or something. And fingers crossed.
That would be epic. Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
And then I'll have you back on when you talk about going into production for all this stuff, because you're more than welcome to come back on and talk about that. So I want to thank you for coming on.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
So, guys, we will see you on the next chat from the Blog Cabin.